Good morning or afternoon, 7th graders. We're going to continue and do another English workshop assignment, and today we're going to turn in our books to page 135 so that we can discuss direct and indirect objects. So go ahead and open up your book, and let's begin to prepare for our lesson. All right, today you're going to need a black, a blue, a red, and a green pen. I know that's quite a few different colored pens, but it's going to help us mark our instruction page up so that we'll understand what we're doing, okay? So let's go ahead and get ready. Okay, today we're going to be working with the assignment on page 135, objects, okay? And so let's begin by highlighting the first part and marking the rule. Objects are complements that do not refer to the subject. Objects are always nouns. 11M, a direct object is a noun or a pronoun that receives the action of the verb or shows the result of the action. It answers the question whom or what after an action verb. Whom or what. That's probably the most important part, that you remember that it answers the questions whom or what. Okay, examples. Gina called me. Gina called whom? And the answer would be me. That's the direct object in the sentence. Okay, please mark your sentences like I mark mine. The next example. Hot soup may burn your throat. Hot soup may burn what? And throat is the direct object. Okay, so please mark your answers just like I've marked mine. Now the next part, please mark in red. Direct objects are never found in prepositional phrases. Okay, so if you find a noun in a prepositional phrase, it's going to be the object of the preposition. So let's look at some examples. Yosef rode the horse. Horse is the direct object. It answers, what did Yosef ride? Now let's look at the next example. Yosef rode on the horse. Okay, on is the preposition and horse is the object of the preposition. The whole prepositional phrase is on the horse. So you just have to be careful in a way that you can figure out whether it's an object of a preposition or if it's a direct object, is just look for that preposition. So if you find a preposition, you'll know there's a prepositional phrase, and you'll be looking for an object of preposition that way. Okay, now let's mark 11N. An indirect object is a noun or a pronoun that precedes, comes before the direct object, and usually tells to whom or for whom, or to what or for what the action of the verb is done. Let's look at some examples. The coach gave Josh and him awards. The coach gave what? Awards. So that's the direct object. Underline that in blue, please. And then we ask the question, to whom did he give the awards? And the answer, this is a compound indirect object. The first indirect object is Josh and the second one is him. So we have two indirect objects that come before the direct object awards. Let's look at the next example. Juan built his sister a shelf for her books. Okay, so what did Juan build? Shelf. That's going to be your direct object. Now what precedes it is going to answer to whom did he build the shelf for? So the answer is sister. You have one indirect object in that sentence. Now I just want to remind you that not every sentence has an indirect object. It could just have a direct object, but you will never have an indirect object without a direct object. Okay, let's go down further and mark up the difference between prepositional phrases and indirect objects. Let's look at the next part. If the word to or for is used, the noun or pronoun following it is part of a prepositional phrase and cannot be an indirect object. I made a card for you. For is a preposition. You is going to be the object of preposition there. Now let's look at the next one. I made you a card. And so this one's a little bit different. You is going to be the indirect object, and a card, the card part is going to be the direct object. Let's look at the next one. He gave the extra ticket to Tom. Now we have a prepositional phrase there. You have the preposition to and then Tom's going to be the object of preposition. Now the next one's different. He gave Tom the extra ticket. He gave him what? Ticket is going to be the direct object, and Tom is going to be the indirect object. All right, I'd like you to do exercise 14 now, identifying direct objects. I need you to do, well, let's look at the example first. George's father and mother, Mr. and Mrs. Ristevsky, own the Liberty Deli. And so they own what? The Liberty Deli. So all you do in this assignment is underline the direct object. I need you to do number 1 through 5, and then as you pause the video, go ahead and do number 1 through 5, and then when you finish, turn the video back on and you can check your answers. Okay, now just check your answers, number 2 through 5, and make sure that you underlined the direct object, and then I'd like for you to do the next exercise. Okay, now we're going to practice a little bit. We're going to do exercise 15, identifying direct objects and indirect objects. In each sentence below, underline the direct object in blue and the indirect object in red. Some sentences may not contain an indirect object, but I also want you to remember that direct objects and indirect objects could be compound. Let's look at the example. Mrs. Sanchez gave Trudy and us directions to her office. She gave what? Directions is the direct object. It's underlined in blue. And to whom did she give the directions? Trudy and us. So there's a compound indirect object. So you underline Trudy and us in red. I'd like for you to go ahead and do all of exercise 15. Go ahead and pause the video now and complete the assignment, and then turn the video back on to check your answers. Okay, now that you've completed exercise 15, please go ahead and check your answers. Make sure you've underlined the direct objects in blue and the indirect objects in red. If you have any questions, please come and see me, and hopefully you've done really well on this. Hopefully after what we've done in class and in this homework assignment, you've done really well. Now I want you to know that, one of the reasons we need to know why a noun is acting as an object in a sentence rather than a subject in a sentence is to be able to determine with pronouns specifically which pronoun to use when you're speaking and writing. And so we're going to begin that this next week as we do daily language classes or daily language lessons during class, and hopefully it'll make good sense to you. You'll be able to pick out when a noun is being used as an object in a sentence, whether it's an indirect object, a direct object, or an object of a preposition. So hopefully today is a good foundation for you.